Having tire problems or the truck.
Grayer.
See a truck parked down there and,
See pictures of my cousin.
Mike.
Goes, oh, we look almost the
He
same.
had so much,
Up north in Nebraska.
I
picked
know,
up something.
I know.
They aired it up last Friday. It was almost flat this morning, so they aired it up again. They just brought it down. It ain't gonna get any better.
One of the duels?
Yeah. Inside one, of course.
Of course it is.
Always.
Of course it is.
It's never an
That's what I was
outside.
gonna ask, yeah.
It's never an outside one.
There's lots of reverb, I don't know if you can adjust that,
Okay, never, I can't say it's ever heard.
Reverb?
but we're bouncing. Everybody. The sound out here anyway.
Excuse me?
There's lots of reverberation, the sound is bouncing out here.
How's that?
Better?
Is that better?
A little better for it.
No, maybe.
I'm still all over the place.
Echoing.
Don't talk so loud. Okay, I'll turn them down.
Okay.
I'm turning them down.
Well,
Okay. Matt, can you hear us?
can you hear us now?
Hold on. No, I'm talking to the
I was gonna
audience.
say to the guy on.
Yeah, can you hear us?
Wrong Matt.
Okay.
That's from KDOT. This is,
I was Zoom with KDOT, okay.
well,
And-
it's supposed to be for
and
the
that
car wash
company too.
Just reminded me how far you've fallen.
Matt, can you hear us?
Someone's talking to your parents, you know, how
You're on mute.
you fell from the tree. Such nice people.
I can hear you.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Still a minute behind.
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
We got a new battery in it, but it only lasted
a week or so.
Yeah, 2 weeks, a meet, or 1 month, 2 meetings.
It'd be nice. The atoms are messing up.
Yeah, something.
I know. Nobody's got the pictures on.
When they get on, they will.
When you're doing classes, they don't let you out of it.
6,
No.
7 seconds. Okay, good.
Oh,
We're just in time. Could raise the views of your
You got it.
performance up there for a daytime memory.
Calls meeting to order.
Pledge allegiance to
The flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Fry,
Present.
Keating,
Present.
Snellings. Present. Bikeman.
Present.
Baraki,
Present.
Price,
Here.
Barons. Here. Rom.
Here.
8.
Okay. First up, we have the approval of the minutes from the meeting on March 28th.
Move to approve the regular minutes, March 8th, 2022.
Second.
Okay. Any changes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Next up, we've got public comment. Hello.
Hello. So, good evening, Marysville. Do I need to say my address or anything?
What's that?
Do I need to say my address and my name?
Yeah,
Okay.
Lord. Name.
Okay, so I'm Ashlyn Price. I'm 1910 Jenkins Street, and I'm in Ward 1. So, my name is Ashlyn Price, and I'm the senior class representative. First of all, I need to apologize for coming to you late and not being on the agenda. Our class sponsor and president failed to do the job in a timely manner, so here I am, so we, the class of 22, can follow the MHS tradition. On April 23rd is the MHS prom. We would like to do the senior walk and promenade. The promenade takes place at the 7th Street corridor at 7:30, and the walk takes place on Main at 8:15. Due to the fact that no one came to see you sooner, my classmates will be driving all street legal vehicles per the email that I sent out tonight. Again, I apologize that this is not my job to do as I found out at noon today that it had not been done. I understand that the public comment is not a place for this to be done, but we'd like to keep this an MHS tradition.
No, this is a failure in teaching. This one's here learning the moment.
I appreciate that, you're reticent as far as, how it came to this position and willing to compromise on the street legality, et cetera. So move to approve.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank
Opposed?
you.
Thank you.
Correspond with Mr. Simpson over there.
Okay, anybody else here for 5-minute public comment? Okay, we'll move on to business and discussion items. First, we have the Go Car Wash, with Jabel Schulten, Derek Merchant, and Ron Buck.
Good evening, City Council. Thank you for having me today. I'll be very brief. My name is JT Shelton. I'm from Lubbock, Texas. I'm the Vice President of Development for 7B Building and Development. We are the developer and GC for VIE Real Estate, who is under contract with Buck Roofing and Construction to purchase the property of today's topic. I'm here with our CEO, Derek Merchant, and the owner, Ron Buck. On March 10th, 2022, this council held a public hearing to review, discuss, and ultimately ended with the approval of our existing site plan, including our access for the proposed project presented by VIA and 7B. We're here today to acquire a signature from the city to the application for access from the Kansas Department of Transportation. It's in compliance with our site plan that was approved by this council on March 10th, 2022. During the process,
Hold on, just to clarify, it was the planning commission that.
sorry,
approved
I
it, not
apologize, the
council.
planning commission, my bad, I apologize. The planning commission had approved on March 10th, 2022. During the process of pulling our building permit on March 16th, I was informed by William Routh that he would issue the permit, but it would show that the access off of US 36 would be shown as closed pursuant to a 2018 access management plan between the city of Marysville and the Kansas Department of Transportation. This is the first instance that anyone from the city provided our team with notice or indication that there was an issue with our access. We've been in communication with the city since the end of 2021, and we've spent approximately $200,000 in engineering fees, design, surveys, and entitlements. This project has been bought out by estimators and bids, and we have ordered a pre-engineered metal building to be delivered specifically for this project and produced. The access off of US Highway 36 is a shared access between us and the Wolf's Bank United First Bank and Trust. We have a cordial and cooperative relationship with the bank as we move forward in planning and development of this project. In summary, we require the council to provide us with a signature for our KDOT access application, as we are only applying for access as the Planning Commission has already approved, so that we may continue our process with the Kansas Department of Transportation. And I would let the remainder of my time go to Derek or Ron if they have any public comments.
Mr. Mayor, City Council members, thank you for your time. Just wanted to kind of tell you who we are as we're talking about an important big project, but we're a family-owned company. Grew up in southeastern New Mexico. We've developed in 40 states for Family Dollar, Dollar Tree. Is where our background comes from. Over the last 4 or 5 years, we've started developing a car wash brand, one for ourselves, the other one for Go Car Wash. Go Car Wash, I tell people that because you want to know who's coming into your community or who's trying to come be a part of your community. We sold 25 locations to Go Car Wash in June of last year. As you can imagine, selling a company of 400 people is not always an easy decision, but Go Car Wash is a great company that cares about their people. They care about their community. They won't just come in here and they're really a small company, actually. They won't just be a big corporation that comes in here and doesn't involve themselves with the school, with the healthcare facilities. They love getting involved in that stuff, as does our family. So you're getting some quality people when they come into your town, and I just think it's real important to understand that and to communicate that. Is we're excited. We've worked hard on this project. I know we've got a little bit more ways to go. We're here to answer any questions you might have, and I know we may have some questions come up, but just wanted to formally introduce myself and tell you thank you for allowing us to present today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Ron Buck. I'm the current owner of the property, and basically what we're asking for is to the current access point to remain the same. We're not asking for one to be added. I have no future ownership in the car wash. When it's sold and it changes hands, I'll be completely divested of the property. My research and discussions with KDOT is that I understand there's a grant from KDOT that involves funds that the city of Marysville receives to limit the access point for good flow traffic. They have told me, and they've provided an email to me, that the access point remaining will not affect any grant money that the city of Marysville receives. And that's with Daniel Tillett from the Wamego branch and also his supervisor from Topeka. They're going to provide that information, and so I think that all we're really asking for is a current access point to remain. We're not going to add one. The one on 17th is really not necessary for their operation. And kind of just driving up the corridor, we see that Sonic has 2 access points right there. Casey's has a large one, and then the existing car wash has 2 access points. So what we're really just asking for us, for the current access point that's shared with Leonard Wolf's Bank to remain where it's at, and that works well for both Go Power Wash and the bank. That's really all I have. If there's any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can provide a little background on why this is being brought forth. As he stated, and I think Will would back up this information or correct me if I'm wrong. They presented this idea or to go through the planning commission for this car wash. The plan stated they would leave this access open. They were asked by at least one of the planning commission members about this access and if it was supposed to be closed. It was stated, actually I'll let you say since you were there.
Yeah, they stated that they had talked to him and there wasn't any problems with it. Talk to KDOT. Yeah, I have a email right here back from October 6th of 21. I was talking to Ryan Martini, and it states right in here, I was talking with him about the closing of that access was in the plans for everything. So we did let them know in plenty of time there.
There might have been a little bit of misunderstanding. The local representative for KDOT that does our area didn't have our access management plan on file. When I called him and brought it to his attention, he called the access management person for KDOT, in which started up a whole slew of conversation and questions from that perspective. As far as the access not being completely approved or approved at all by KDOT. In fact, if the council were to authorize a signature on this access, on this request for the access, they are required to do a traffic study as well as, can't remember the list of things they had to prove. They have to prove that they actually need this access before KDOT approves it. But KDOT did come to me and say, the city has the right to refuse this, or stop this access from being open, from right here. Whether you guys want to do that or not is up to you.
Go ahead.
You know, outside of previous agreements and studies, just as somebody who's maybe driven by there 1,000 times, I'm going to say that this access concerns me a lot less than the 17th Street access. That's the confusing, slightly dangerous seeming access, is the one off 17th, which they said is not that important to them. Whereas this is a mid-block access that serves, that in premise would serve two businesses. And seems like it kind of makes sense as far as, you know, flow of traffic. To me as a layperson, I guess, I'm not an engineer. So, I mean, I can't see us standing in the way of this being a productive use of the property, but that's just my, you know, interpretation.
They are looking at moving the 17th Street access up, correct?
Correct. In the site plan that you got there, it's moved up to where it's straight in line with, in front of the building,
Which is much
instead
better.
of right at the corner like it is right now.
But still, that, I mean, 17th Street's kind of tight through there. There's a couple existing businesses. Sight lines aren't great for traffic that are southbound. That's just my opinion, but.
As someone that lived there for 35 years, it was never a problem.
But, you know, over 35 years, you can admit South 17th Street, how many years ago didn't exist?
Correct.
And there's a lot of traffic that comes off the, you know, Good Shepherd and Tension Envelope and the other industrial park. That's become more of an intersection, like a lot of ours, than we ever would have planned for it to be.
That's true.
I guess what I'll interject is number one, I think the bank somewhat shares that, that entrance with the bank, but if that entrance wasn't there, they could still function. In my opinion, we have 3 car washes in town, right? Do we need another? And no offense to the ones that are looking at investing here.
That's not the question you can answer.
Well, no. But the question is do we want to approve access there? I fought it out of Club 36. They would not give us an access there when we tried to sell it to another entity. And luckily, the people that have it, it's a great thing. But I don't feel that we should open up this bag of worms for every spot that you can drive off the highway onto a private property and allow that to happen and say, oh yeah, we're okay with that.
I don't, you know, to counterpoint that, I don't disagree, except for this is the only access between 2 streets in that block. So it's not like this is one of 2. That's first thing. Second, that is kind of a mess through there. Ever since we did the geometric improvement project for 20th Street, there's a sidewalk, but it's low. There's not a proper frontage street. Yeah, you know, hindsight is 20/20. Maybe if we'd put a frontage street along that whole section, that would have been the best solution, but I'm not sure we can do that now. And yeah, I agree. The first time I saw this, I thought, really, a 4th car wash? But, you know, I guess I'm looking at it as, you know, I don't want to sit in judgment and pick winners and losers amongst businesses. It is what it is. I don't know. I think if we can look at sacrificing 17th for this access, that makes sense for all parties, the bank, the car wash included. Yeah, I think the bank could get by with just the, you know, 18th Street car wash, or 18th Street exit, but that would be an awful lot of traffic trying to get to the car wash with that, and that would maybe create a new danger with the drive-through. I feel like we're kind of just changing one problem for another. So that would be my counter argument.
It's a short strip of land right there with an access by the water tower and by Casey's. That's enough, in my opinion. If we want to deviate from the plan that we paid for in 2018, great, let's do that.
these plans that are here are correct. It looks like it I mean, right now the sidewalk along, Center Street, along the highway, and the asphalt in front of the former service station is kind of all one area. There's not a
Yes.
lot of separation. This at least looks like it separates those two things and creates more of a defined right-of-way. Would you say
It
that's
does,
correct?
it does. It has the grass right there and gives you your sidewalk good at the front.
And I guess the only other thing I'd interject here is if you look at the application, they are claiming number of vehicles, and that's a big thing to try to get this through. They're claiming 200 vehicles per day. Number of vehicles at the peak hour, 45, and obviously passenger cars. I mean, if we want to sign that application, that's my thing, you know? It's not gonna be that many people. And it is a deviation from the plan that you guys, or that the city has put together as far as the total plan for the roads in the community. So, I don't wanna say that there's gonna be 200 cars coming. There won't be.
Nah, it depends on the day, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I mean, well, look, their first nice day in spring, they probably will have. I mean, dead of winter, you know, I mean, it depends.
There's more,
It's like
there's more
car wash.
cars, there's more traffic than you think, Jack. Live by the highway and you'll know.
Oh, okay, yeah. How many go into a car wash?
It surprises me how many. I don't know.
There's one across the street from my rental house, and there's a lot of, Jeff?
I can answer that question when I get to the podium.
I mean, look, I know the one across from me, I mean, on a nice day, there's a lot of cars go through there, more than you would think in a day's time.
Not 200 going to a car wash. You got 3 of them in town.
It might be, I mean, cause
No.
you'll look over there and there'll be one getting washed and a lot of times 2 behind them waiting in line.
That's an appeasement.
I can answer that question.
Yeah.
Can I approach? Yes, no?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I'm opposed, and Austin, I understand that we're not discussing whether a car wash is the right business for our community.
Right.
But I want to give you some numbers. Super wash, both, these are automatic per day numbers, okay? January, 56 cars a day. February, 53 cars a day, 2 automatics, which is what they're doing. March, 47 cars a day. I don't think if Bob was here, I almost can guarantee you, we have 2 automatics, he has 1. We're lucky, we don't even get anywhere close to 100 cars a day, okay? The other point I want to mention is a general accepted standard for number of bays per population, 1 bay for every 1,000 people. Right now in Marysville, we have 9 bays. I'm concerned as a business owner, I'm concerned as a citizen. I think if they come in, it's gonna hurt 3 local businesses. 3 local people. So, anyhow, do you have any questions for me as far as numbers? But those are actual numbers, Jason. And I would tell you that, and I think these guys will tell you too, winter is our busiest month.
Oh, really?
I didn't believe that 25 years ago, but it is.
It's all enough.
But those are actual numbers from our car wash. Any other questions?
I'd just like to state that typically what we have found is when we come into a community, we have upset other business owners. What they have come to us later and said is that our business increased when you came into town. What we're bringing into this community is not the same model. You can be in and out of our car wash in less than 3 minutes. That's from the pay lanes through the wash. And so what that does is it allows them to process more cars. Now, if I wanted to use this gentleman's number, we could, and that we would be forging our engineered documents to you guys. So we think we can wash 200 cars. We also think everybody else can survive in this town. It is not a one guy gets all the business type of model. Self-serves, when you're coming off the muddy roads, you're not allowed to go through our wash because our wash, that mud gets on the brushes and it has the possibility of scraping other cars. So there's a no mud policy. We encourage other business owners to go to the other washes. Thank you.
Can I address his concern? As far as speed, I would encourage you to go through Superwash. You can start to finish, it's 2 minutes and 53 seconds. So if you do 3 minutes, we're pretty darn close.
I just wanted to add that all the application does is put it in the hands of KDOT to study the traffic. So they will put out the equipment to do a traffic count and study the amount of vehicles. And ultimately, they have the say of whether they're going to leave the access point. And they're going to study it, and they're going to determine if it can handle the traffic that their projections say they'll have. So I think all we're asking for tonight is the application to be signed. Then it moves to KDOT. Then ultimately, KDOT has the decision. Like I said before, if they issue the variance for the existing access point to remain, I have an email that it does not affect the grant or the plan that Mr. Keating brought up earlier. We put the master plan in 2018. It doesn't affect any dollars that they'll receive. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I move we go ahead with the application to proceed with a traffic study on 17th and Center.
Okay, have a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion?
Little further discussion.
Yes.
I've been on council long enough now that these things to come to mind. If we set a precedent of wavering here, are we going to have to consider every previous or every future, request? Or previous, but
Here's where I look at it. Look, I like the plan, and I can see why you want to shut down all the accesses that you can along the highway, especially from KDOT's standpoint. At the same time, I don't want long stretches along the highway of property that's highway frontage that the owners don't have access to their property. So you gotta kind of thread that needle, I guess, so that they can have access, but you don't have 100 access points along there every 10 feet.
Yeah.
I mean, this property, they got the bank on one side, so they don't have access from that way. There is an alley behind there, but there's also houses that use that. I don't think that they would want a tremendous amount of traffic going by them necessarily. On the other side, 17th, you're going up a hill. If it was flat, you could make the argument they can come in and then come back out or whatever, but that's...
Right. Well, and I've studied
that
that management plan, and there's a lot of kind of like, oh, that's something that KDOT doesn't understand facts on the ground.
On the access plan, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think that what they would like us to do is like every other street through town be blocked off.
Basically have frontage roads.
Which is never, obviously, we're not gonna shut every other street down, access to the highway, but that's what the plan suggests that we should do.
Also, you talk about that alley. If I'm reading this correctly, it looks like that alley is not a public alley.
It's not an alley, it's a private drive.
It's private, but, there's houses along there and they use it like a public alley, basically.
I guess, I'm more supportive of the idea of protecting and supporting our local businesses probably than the average person. It's something I literally think about and preach about all the time is vote with your dollars. But I feel like as council people, we have to be a little agnostic about that because it gets you can get really in the weeds about, who's local or who came first and things, and it's tough. So I don't feel like we can use that to steer it. I feel like our best decisions here are gonna be as far as long-term good and safety. I feel like safety is something you can kind of go back on because, to me, the proceeding with this equals, you know, if KDOT gonna say it's a safe plan, if they sign off on it and they stamp it as being safe, then I think that's the way to go. So, that's my 2 cents.
For me, instead of another car wash, I think we could really use a truck wash is what we could really use. The closest truck wash is, of course, is in Fairview, so, I mean, that's something that we're lacking. I think we could use a truck wash.
But to be clear, this wouldn't have a truck wash, right? Are you looking for a 5th car wash, Keith?
Okay. Further discussion?
I think you ought to maybe clarify that the access plan does not close down streets that have a highway access. Streets that have a highway access.
No, they would like, I mean.
Well, they'd like to, but that's not in the plan.
It's private drives.
Yeah, it's private drives, but it's not streets. So let's make that clarification for the public.
Okay, further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
6-2. Okay. All right.
May I have the vote, please?
6-2.
Keith and
Graki.
This is just for the traffic study, right?
This is all, I sign it, it'll go to KDOT, and basically it's in KDOT's hands from there, so. Okay.
Agreement with the school.
Yeah, the interlocal agreement between the city of Marysville and USD 364.
You wanna talk about this?
Yeah.
Okay.
John?
Mr. Mayor, I prepared an interlocal agreement for the city and the school district. And it does supplant an October agreement with the school district regarding the use of the tennis courts. But I would say we've had several negotiations. We met with school board representatives and we've discussed it with their school board attorney. And we prepared this agreement that meets at least the administrator's assessment. And we're bringing it to the council to get approval. We did take some liberties, realizing that if it is an interlocal agreement subject to Attorney General approval, it takes a period of time for them to approve it. So we did submit it early with a caveat, if there's any changes, that would have to come back before the council and back before the Attorney General. And the purpose is to provide a mechanism to allow the school board to contribute to the renovation of the tennis courts. And their mechanism, I try to draw broadly enough that they're going to contribute out of their own capital accounts or other own funds, $5,000 per year for 10 years. The other part of the piece is that they're allowed, we have no objection, that a private donor donate $5,000 per year for a period of 10 years. And this is to provide for maintenance. And maintenance can be replacement of the nets, can be replacement of light bulbs. And the main thing I think most people are concerned about is resurfacing. Now, resurfacing generally lasts, I think Mrs. Kramer mentioned 5 years or so. And so 5 to 7 years. And so depends on the weather, and the nets would last for a period of time. So it does allow for accumulation over time to get the big ticket items. What I tried to draft in here was the flexibility for the school board to deal with a private donor, to allow the private donor to go to the community foundation. I realize that public monies, including, well, city as well as I think the school board, is subject to certain requirements on safe investments. They can't go to the equity markets and try to grow their taxpayer money, simply too unsafe. But if it was allowed, the flexibility allowed the donor to go use the community foundation, there'd be more opportunity for private donations to add to their donation and to generate, at least marginally, some interest some growth potential in relatively safe investments. I mean, I realize after the volatility we've seen here in the last couple of months, and anything can happen, and that's probably why the state of Kansas doesn't allow city governments to invest in equity markets. The term is for 10 years, and after that, it can continue consecutively thereafter, and hopefully this thing will work, and we'll continue to invest monies and keep the tennis courts up to speed. I see the Kramers out there, and I see the school board representative, and I'm more than willing to share the podium to allow them to come up and address it. Now, if I understand correctly, the school board will take up this very same agreement on Wednesday, and I think everybody's had an opportunity. We've had some feedback from the council members, got a typo, and left out a word "at." And so, if there's any questions, I'd be glad to address it. We try to cover all aspects of it to make it workable. The historic Beatty Depot is involved. The reality is it could be moved. I did see a letter from Mayor Olmsted suggesting that Beatty's, at this point in time, can't swing financially to transport the Beatty Depot back to Beatty. But they still remain interested in it, and the Beatty Depot is used for storage, and they have to work together with city employees to make sure it's not messed up. It's just kept neat and orderly, and everybody has their place. But it's really handy to store certain equipment there, especially during tennis seasons. So, any question, I'll be glad to address it. And if the school board representative would make any statements to the private donors, the donation is greatly appreciated. I think this is going to be a marvelous project. Mr. Mayor, I don't have anything else. Ms. Dankerbring?
Hello. Pam Dankerbring, School Board President, 307 North 17th, Ward 4. I'd like to thank Mr. St. John and Mr. McNish. Mr. Schrader had an appointment set up with Mr. Cunningham from KASB. I believe it was a couple of afternoons after you all met, and they made time in their schedule so that we could all sit down around the table. And instead of the back and forth piece, just kind of sit there and hammer this out. We're very much on board with the way that it is worded. He's correct. School board law does not allow us to make donations, so we will hold our donation in our long-term capital outlay plan in a particular line item. We will always go to that monies first because we have worked with the Education Foundation to set up a particular line item for tennis court refurbishment and maintenance within the Community Foundation, so that if others are interested in putting money in there too, they can do that during match day. That will always be our secondary source of funding to allow that to sit there and grow. But we've got that very same agreement on our agenda for Wednesday night, and barring anything that I have heard, we're planning to vote as well on that, unless you all do something differently this evening.
Any of the council members have any, thank you. Any of the council members have any concerns about anything in the contract as it's written for the agreement?
No, I'm just glad we're finally getting somewhere with it, frankly. It's been a long time coming. I think I've said that a couple times. I feel like a broken record around here.
It takes time to get things squared.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to make a motion that we sign the interlocal agreement between the City of Marysville and USD 364, Marshall County, Kansas.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0.
I have a question, please.
Yes.
Are all interlocal agreements subject to Attorney General approval?
That's a good point. I was going to email the Attorney General and say, does this really need to be approved by the Attorney General? It's a fine line to distinguish when an agreement between two government agencies need to be approved. Legally, I think they could do this independently, and perhaps that's the key distinction why it has to be approved. But to avoid any type of argument or any type of delay, we submitted to the Attorney General. But I plan on emailing the Attorney General and asking, well, is there really a need for their approval? It's really kind of not all agreements have to be approved, and we have other agreements with the school board, so it's not always an easy question to determine.
And I think it's my understanding that, because my fear with that 90-day delay was the end of the boys' tennis season will happen before then. But is it my understanding that we're in agreement that we would go ahead with construction in the timely manner?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
I think that's already in play. And, but I thought we could speed it up with that review process. No, I'll email it. I think it's Associate General Smith is the one I need to contact. And, I did email the school board attorney if that would be acceptable to ask, and they have no problem. If it's waived, it's waived. It's just, hard to determine when you need an actual interlocal agreement.
And John, would you say that in general, it's good to err on the side of caution with things like that?
Fair statement.
Yeah.
I'd say get started and ask for forgiveness later.
Forgiveness, not permission.
All right, next up, we have mosquito squad.
Included is the updated numbers for mosquito squad, their proposal for this year, and Deb was kind enough to do the numbers on page 35 to show you this year versus last year and what we're proposing to do for each of the locations. As you can see, Feldfield was the previous years was set up because the movie theater wanted to do movies. They stopped doing that and hadn't asked to do it again. So we didn't plan on doing it again this coming up year. But you can see the slight increase, 158, 33, 35, 35, 108, 30. So a total of $416.63 more than last year.
Well, I heard good feedback from previous years. I mean, people felt like this was a good investment for us to make in public facilities outdoors, So I move we approve the contract with Mosquito Squad for 2022.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You do. Okay, no notices and hearings. Next up, we have the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, any discussion about any items on there? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There you go. Next up, we have appropriations ordinance number 3770.
Move to approve appropriation ordinance in 3070 in the amount of $225,652.66.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion about any items on there? Roll call?
Fry,
Yes.
Keating,
Yes.
Snellings,
Yes.
Bikeman,
Yes.
Guaraki,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Barons,
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
8-0.
Okay. Next up, Austin.
First on my list, the quote from Feldkamp Furniture for the fire station flooring. This just includes the carpeted area, the meeting space, office, and then an entryway carpet to where people can actually wipe their feet up in the entry, up in the front door. We took out the kitchen and bathrooms as far as that vinyl flooring. It also includes the raising, raising of the base rubber plate. The cove base, there we go. They have to take the cove base off, can't reuse it, so they buy new cove base to put back on to raise it up to fit the carpet in there. The quote came back at $10,921.80.
What was it before?
11.9, I think.
But that's with all of it, and we took part of it out?
Yep. But the previous one didn't include
The
removing
code,
the base.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm gonna ask a dumb question. The code base is not reusable. It destroys it when you remove it?
Yeah,
Yes.
pretty much, yeah.
Never done that, so I thought I'd better ask.
Yeah, it's, yeah.
I'm sure they'll take you, volunteer to show you exactly how it goes.
Pass.
It's not so much non-usable, but there's so much stuff on the back of it.
Adhesive on the back? Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I expected.
Okay, so maybe, wanna make a motion?
Make a motion to approve the Feldkamp's quote for $10,921.80 for the carpet in the new fire station.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? 8-0.
All right, second item is financials. The general fund is still a little bit below where it was last year. Expenditures for the general fund have been close to 2021. Water fund had a slight increase in balance from February to March in balance. Sewer fund saw an increase of $22,472. And the expenditures for the first 3 months has been about $30,000 lower than the first 3 months of 2021. Sales tax fund had over $1 million as of the end of March. In 2021, the balance was at $332,362 due to paying off the swimming pool bonds, where we had to pay $770,000, or they adjusted it in March when the audit was done. So that explains the difference in there. Starting the year off relatively well at this point, still watching the expenditures as we go. So, any questions about financials? That's all I had.
Okay. Next up, we have the police and the restructuring of the police department.
Hey, good evening. How is everybody this evening?
Good.
Well, good. We'll try to move this along fast. I know everybody has a family to get home to. Last week, I had the pleasure of meeting with the Police and Fire Committee, as well as the mayor, Mr. St. John, and the city attorney. One of the things that we wanted to do, that we wanted to discuss tonight, was restructure a couple positions within the Marysville Police Department. There's a couple reasons we want to do that. One, we want to really avoid stagnation. We know with the typical police department, the hierarchical structure, we promote one of our current sergeants to assistant chief, and then we don't have any movement for 10 years. So, large agencies, they have those specialty units that we don't have, K-9, warrants, narcotics, things like that. And so we really want to figure out a way to keep our people current, keep them active, keep them learning new things, learning from new people. And so we looked at creating more lateral positions instead of a hierarchical structure. One of the ways that we can do that is that we can take the 2 sergeant positions that we currently have approved and the 1 assistant chief position that we currently have approved and make them 3 of the same position in a typical lieutenant position. What that does is that gives us some lateral movement. So for example, we have 3 lieutenants. They go from shift A for 6 months to a year, shift B 6 months to a year. Then they're an assigned investigator and CALIA accreditation manager year 3. And so we always have that movement to keep people fresh and engaged. And so what that does for succession planning is essentially says if the chief leaves, you have 3 people ready and trained and inspired and ready to take on that role and to really have that good knowledge base. So over a 3-year period, we hope to have 3 fully trained investigators, 3 fully trained CALIA accreditation managers, and 3 people who are ready to take this department to the next level. And so that's what we're here to do tonight. What questions can I answer?
I agree with what he's doing, but I guess my question is from an administrative point, as a chief of police, if he wants to restructure things, how is this going to affect us? I mean, if he did this on his own, what is he doing that we would not agree with?
What do you mean by on his own?
Well, no, I mean, as the chief of police, what is he changing here other than titles and structure that's going to affect the city as far as the cost of everything and, because I don't see anything, so I'm kinda wondering why he's asking us.
Because it changes our
Changes
whole
the
pay
job
classification.
description.
Oh.
Yeah, it changes the play classification book, which the council has to approve.
I can tell you what it's gonna do for you. It's gonna give you better job satisfaction from your community, because when you have an assigned investigator who can follow up on case leads in a timely manner, that's gonna increase satisfaction with your community. And when the chief does leave, or when I do leave at some point in my life, however long that may be, you're gonna have 3 people ready to step up and take the role instead of 1. And so you really keep your people engaged and more, I mean, essentially more community-friendly when they're feeling energized and moving about the department.
So it's just a function of.
Right there, I got it.
That inspires another question, which is,
Sure.
I mean, prosecutorially, you know, that side of the world, do they prefer this sort of, you know, structure? Are they agnostic towards it?
So we're a small agency, and that's the troublesome. You can keep people fresh and engaged when you have 20 specialty divisions. We will never have that. We don't have a need for that. So this is the only way to bring a proposal to you that, 1, doesn't cost the city any money, and 2, benefits us in ways that we're doing it. Sergeant Anthony Escalante is here behind me tonight. I brought him for a very good reason. He would be one of the 2 people in the running for the assistant chief position. It'd be him and James Lease, our 2 sergeants. They're both on board. This both makes sense. We're essentially taking away a possible assistant chief promotion for them, and yet they're both like, no, that makes sense. That's really what we need to do from a departmental standpoint. So aside from that, the only other way to get what we're asking for is to come and ask for a 9th position and say, hey, we really need a CLIA accreditation manager and a full-time investigator.
So just to clarify, what, at its base, what he's asking is for the council to approve a police lieutenant job description, which is what the council, we can't approve ourselves. As well as, I mean, that basically, once you approve that, it shifts, we do away with the assistant chief and shift it down to here. So
And it eliminates sergeant positions.
it eliminates sergeant position, eliminates assistant chiefs, and then puts the lieutenant position into place and assigns them a range. Otherwise he can't, he would have to sit with what he has, which is the setup as they currently
And
lined
the new
out.
range is based on your comment that it's not gonna, with the current staffing, it's not gonna cost the city anymore.
No, I've talked to Mr. St. John about the numbers.
Right, it evens out, so it takes away the high position of assistant chief, and then moves up 1 row from the sergeants from 19 to 20. So it's looking, it may not exactly even itself out, but it's looking to even itself out between the 2 positions.
Well, and the fact that I think the rest of the department's on board speaks to its, you know, probably being something positive, because if they don't feel like they're being robbed of a promotion, but they feel like this would be good for the department, then they would know better than me, so.
Yeah, and we've received plenty of feedback. We truly have an open door policy. We've encouraged every officer to come to City Hall, talk to anybody they want, and this has been a good thing for all of us.
I'd say move to approve the request to restructure the PD.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I just got one question.
Yes, sir.
Let's just say if you're going 2 weeks in training, then you got the 3 lieutenants, which one makes the executive decision on something?
Sure, so part of our.
Instead of assistant chief, which one of those lieutenants?
That's a great question. Part of our CALIA standards, which we're required to do for accreditation, is assign that out over email. So every time I leave, I have to put out, I will be unavailable Tuesday through Wednesday, so-and-so's acting on my behalf. So those are all established every single time already.
So the chain of command will still be there.
It will be. We would pick one of the lieutenants and assign them to be in that role.
So whichever lieutenant is on duty at that time?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. Have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Thank you,
If
Matt.
don't mind hanging on 1 second, just because I'm gonna jump if that's the mayor's approval. Something that hasn't come up in a while, is the firing range.
Oh, it came up at
Before,
work
just in
the
case
other
you
day.
needed to leave, I wanted to ask before you left.
Gotta go.
What the status of the firing range is?
I
That's been
don't.
in flux for years.
It
and-
has. So we just got with the, Parks Department to seed the berms. Some of the berms were falling down. The county re-appropriated those berms for us. We've just seeded it, but that's as far as I've been involved into this point.
Okay.
So,
So if there were people locally that wanted to be a range master
mhm.
in the evenings to allow people to come out there, would you be opposed to that, or?
I'm not opposed to it, personally, if you're asking my personal opinion. I think the thing that the council needs to look at is a liability standpoint. And what do you do as far as a hold harmless, or what do you do for if somebody trashes the ring, catches it on fire? So when you open it up to just the general public, you accept a tremendous amount of liability. And to be truthfully, it would be you guys accepting that liability, not me.
Right.
So if done in the right way, I certainly support it.
Maybe a organization that wanted to do it and they had the opportunity to go out there, but not just the general public.
I think there is a way to do it, yes, I do.
I think there is.
But I would be very careful from just opening it up to the
No, you
public,
don't wanna do that,
yes.
right.
I will say that I have checked the insurance on that. It's very difficult.
It's very costly.
Very pricey, very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not in favor of doing it just because there's only like one company that'll cover it, just because of the liability of it.
Is that if it's wide open to the public, or if it's managed by a private group?
They ask if they spend the night, who's managed, they ask a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions that they ask you just to get an estimate. It's very difficult. And I know everybody wants it, I mean, I get it, I do get it. But I can try again, but it was very difficult. It was very difficult.
I think you would be better off personally to hire another part-time position, 8 hours a month or whatever it is. Let them go through the training as a city employee and have a city employee open it up than to offer it to any other entity. You lose complete control when you do that.
You need a range master.
You do.
If we open it all, doesn't make any difference who's in charge. It's a huge liability and a lot of insurance.
I know it is a lot of money, so that's something the council would have to decide.
So now Riley County down there's got a nice one there.
They do. They have a lot of nice stuff.
They also have a lot of money.
They get by with it.
I don't know, I've been down there and shot at that one, so.
Yeah. It's better than people going out a mile out of town and doing it, you know?
Yeah.
You have a structured.
It's a closed-in course, I mean, it's.
Hey, ours is pretty nice too.
Well, I know it is, I've seen it. I've
You did
spent a
the
lot of
dirt work,
time out
right?
there.
Yeah.
Did a lot of it.
The original dirt work that failed, or?
No. I've fixed it the other 2 times.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Okay, next up, the standing committee reports. Anybody have anything on the street?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I went first last time. You
No,
gotta
I'll go
first.
first. We had our street committee meeting, we all met, and, to me, the. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I think the dust control is out of the reason we met with the township, I don't think it doesn't make sense to do it. I know the residents out there want it, but I think if we continue to work on building a relationship with the township and the county on what they can do to help us in the future moving forward, when it comes to replacing a culvert or whatever, they got, the township, they flat out said, we do not have the funds to be able to put dust control down. But if they could help us moving forward on fixing a few things in here with their equipment, they got a hell of a lot nice maintainer than we do, honestly.
Yeah, that's why.
But it's the truth.
Yeah, it is.
And I think we just need to be more open with them when the residents say something about, hey, there's a dirt spot out here, we'd like some rock. Let's be very proactive and get to the township as quick as we can to take advantage of the fact that they've made that agreement with us.
And the township did ask that if it's on the county portion of the road, that those people that live there that are making those complaints, please call the township directly. They said a lot of times they were never, ever informed, and the city can't do anything about the township portion.
And I am impressed because somebody came out and fixed somebody said something about a speed limit sign that every day I go to work, it's like this, and all of a sudden it's like this.
Oh, well, there we go.
Gary,
I'm assuming that was a township.
No, Gary and his crew did.
Oh,
Yes.
well, yeah.
I
think I'd send the township a bill.
It was a simple fix. We got it taken care of.
And I will take the heat for that one. Todd, go
Okay.
away, fire away.
Now I'll kick in. Yeah, the new section of concrete we did on 11th Road up to Keating Drive. There's sections along there where there's people have mailboxes and things, and I mean, we didn't put a rock shoulder on because I don't think we should put a rock shoulder on, but I'm wondering if we didn't have some, I don't know, old chip seal rock or something we could put where the mailbox locations are, because people are pulling on and off the concrete, and it's creating holes that are just inevitably gonna cause problems, and it's also just gonna pull mud up onto the street. There's only a handful of them, but I feel like if we've got some just rock around that we could do that, it would be good for them. It would keep the mud from pulling up, and it would keep it from that ledge from becoming a problem.
Along the mailboxes, you said?
Yeah, basically at the mailbox locations. I mean, I don't imagine the people would have a problem with it if it were my mailbox. I think I'd appreciate it, so.
So like a little driving lane for them?
Just like I'll call it a half moon, a crescent, something just, basically you can see it. I run out there almost every day, so you can see where people are coming on and off.
Okay.
And if it's certain vehicles, that can really do harm.
On that note, on that section of property, or section of street, remember how we talked right after they got it done, that one? I went over it the other day, and it's like a roller coaster almost. Are they gonna fix it, or what are they gonna do?
Rob Peschel with CES said, the next project we do on 11th Road, they will pay to fix that section.
It's kind of a nice speed bump, honestly.
Yes.
Slows people down.
Yeah. And if you're on a motorcycle, it's a fun little ramp. At the speed limit, mind you. It doesn't take much. The other thing I had on the street was, they've been doing, I can tell, a lot of crack sealing around, especially like North and 20th. That intersection gets a lot of traffic.
Yep.
It's looking good. It's definitely smoother than it was, so that work's appreciated.
And do the trash cans fall into street?
Well, yeah, that's where we talked about them at,
Yeah, we talked about them.
Yeah, Dominic, is that
Yeah.
he brought a trash can out to work Monday. I was busy. I said, well, just drop it out there. We got a think tank going on except the expanded, that's not gonna work, but we have some ideas.
Okay.
So bear with us. I can assure you it will not be done for the car show. And the cost of trash cans, if you wanna buy new ones, great, but I'm not putting my stamp on it. But we will come up with something very creative for you guys.
Redo them, refurbish them?
Yes.
Can you make them out of like aluminum so that they last a long time? Maybe some tread bright, that'd be nice.
No, we actually, one day we sat them on one of the tooling tables, you know, these big heavy tables, welding tables, and we all just sat there and looked at it. And we had a debate for about 15 minutes and we decided, I don't know. We have a few ideas on what we're gonna do, and that'll be cost effective and it'll make sense.
Okay. I did ask the street and parks crew to rehab the current ones out there, get them all painted up in preparation for Mother's Day.
Yep.
Just a question on that. Do they catch the, we'll say the dog waste trash cans at the same time as they catch the regular street trash cans, or are those a separate run? I only ask because there was one that was very full last weekend on the trail south of Walnut.
Okay. That's the parks. The parks,
Yeah,
so the street gets.
That's why I didn't know if
yeah.
it's all trashes or, okay.
Parks gets those.
I didn't know who to ask.
Speaking of crack sealing, when he's done writing.
How does the parking lot across the street work?
Will you park your vehicle in?
What's our obligation to it?
Let's see, I'd have to look at our agreement with the church. Yeah, we take care, do we take care of that?
We maintain
I
it.
mean, we maintain it.
Maintain most of it.
So
Yeah.
if it needs
And
crack
paint it.
sealed?
Yes, and I've talked to Garrett, I forget when that's in the plans. We do it every so often, yes.
Okay, I just had him ask about it, so I
Yep.
figured I'd ask you.
Anything else on the street? Water and wastewater? I mean, see we're still moving along there on 11th Road.
They're doing a pretty good job.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So some of the
10
holes are
times a
filled
day.
back in, yeah?
Yes, they've been working on that. They got it all bored through, they put casings underneath the road, that's all the boring, team did from Deep Creek. And then I think we got all the lines fed through it. What we have left are 7 of the 11, if they hadn't worked since I looked at it last, of the meter pits and stuff to hook up. But they got the first 4 at the north, completed.
Slow but sure.
Yep.
Okay, anything else on water, wastewater? Parks and Rec?
I just had a question. Up here at the corner of Broadway and 10th, on the corner of the Kester block, they were doing some work today, maybe some concrete work.
They're putting in your trash can.
Is that really
Yes.
what they're doing? Okay. Well, I didn't stop and bother them. I didn't want to be that council person.
Does it have his name on it?
I think, it should, yeah.
That's a good, that is a perfect idea.
Odd fries trash.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I didn't know. I just didn't know if it was some other project, so.
But again, you bring that up. Where are we at on them signs?
On the,
New ones?
the new ones, I am working with, and this is perfect plug for, CES. The process included a lot more, definition than, first, we knew about. We've never done signs like this before. Specifically, the gateway sign or the welcome sign required engineered plans. And every other sign along the highway required a pinpoint accuracy of where it needed to be, and a picture depicting how it was gonna go on the sidewalk. CES has volunteered their time and effort to put all that together. So right now, I've given all the information that we have, including the forms, to Rob Peschel, to get that taken care of, and they have been working on that.
State and signs isn't
Yeah.
easy.
Oh, I know.
These are all, actually, I won't say all, this is the majority of the highway signs that go in this plan. There are a few outliers out there, but if we can get through this portion, all the other signs will be
This
easy.
will be easier.
Yeah.
With hope.
Can't overhang the highway and.
Yeah, they gotta be 2 feet off the curb, they gotta be 7 foot tall, no, the bottom of the sign has to be 7 foot tall. They gotta be breakaway signs, that in case if they get hit, the signs don't damage whoever hit them as much. I know. And then specifically, fun fact, the gateway sign has to be 52 feet away from the road. Yeah.
From the center line or the edge?
That's a good question. It does not specify. It says road, something like roadway, so I'm assuming it's from the edge. And, which actually works in our benefit because they like to argue, it looks like they like to argue, about putting gateway signs on KDOT property. And there's no other place along 10th Street / Highway 77 that is 52 feet away from the road that we can put it. So that's an argument in our favor to get it put, in the location similar to where the other one is.
Kind of like asking for forgiveness.
I wish.
With the
They hold a
state
lot of
KDOT.
funding, they hold a lot of our funding in their hands.
When we had billboards, it was, pain.
Okay. Anything else on Parks and Rec?
Just a small thing, the northeast corner of Dargett's Park, the backstop. There's just a couple 2x8s missing. I was on the walk and saw some kids just kind of fooling around with them, so.
Northeast.
Yes, northeast.
Didn't we have a group talk to us one time
Yeah.
last year?
They were
about
gonna
one?
raise funds,
Okay.
and I haven't heard anything about it, but they could be raising funds. Backstop.
Yeah, I can't remember what class it was.
In the 90s, I thought.
Okay, we'll get it looked at.
Anything else on Parks and Rec? I guess my only question, because I've had people asking about it, where we at, if we had any applications for pool manager, and how many kids have we had apply for
Okay.
lifeguard
This
positions?
is how we handled it. I asked permission. Everybody that sent in an application, I'm not waiting for a manager to say they're hired. I said you're hired. Get your certification, get your recertification. We'll pay you because last time we waited too long and we didn't have any, we do not have enough to run the pool yet. We have 10. I mean, if we want to run it as many hours. I've been everywhere I go, Saturday, Sunday, whatever. I've talked to several more women about trying to be managers. I got 2 in the works that may work together to be managers. I don't know. I'm working on it. That's the best I can tell you. I have 2 that are, one called, the other one didn't know him and said, maybe we can work this out. That's the best I can do. I can't get, I don't know what else to do.
How
I
many
just
guards do we need to run it from?
Well, I think we have to have 8 at a shot.
Okay.
Okay, you got 7 days in a week.
Okay.
And I think I got 10 guards. And that's if everybody passes certification.
What'd we have last year for guards?
20,
Sounds,
maybe. That might have included
No, it was
admin.
10 guards
Was it
and
20-ish? It was.
We
20-ish.
like to get managers plus 20 guards.
Right, because they want to go to camp and they want to go do all these things, and that's where we run into trouble. If they're gone, we got problems. So, yes, and so we may have to look at adjusting hours or whatever, and I can't have young kids working in early morning, and I can't have them working 15 hours a day. I mean, they can't do that, so we may.
Do you have an opinion as to why we aren't getting enough applications?
I've talked to most city clerks across this state. Yeah, nope, we're not gonna get them. They don't get them either. Most of them have a consistent manager maybe, that helps some. We have a lot of places kids can work here more, Walmart, Casey's, all of those, that helps. And quite frankly, parents, just, you're a kid once.
Yeah, well, I don't disagree with that. But I do
mean,
think that competitive labor market's part of it.
It might be part of it. They don't even ask what they're gonna get paid. They don't, that's.
Well, yeah, and I don't think parents push their kids as much as they used to.
No, I mean, and you do have to be trained. I mean,
yeah.
I think, yes, the market is a challenge, and also, I think if we did have a manager available right now, it helps. It helps quite a bit. I think we'd probably be 4 or 5 more guards if we had a manager on board right now.
They knew who the manager
If they knew who the manager was.
Well, because right now, the kids are just thinking, I'm gonna work for Cindy.
no, they're not thinking that.
I don't
No, they're not, Jeff.
I don't wanna work for Cindy.
No, nobody wants that.
No, nobody's thinking they're working for Cindy.
That seems to be, I mean, the only thing consistent is inconsistency with pool management. I don't know what's the longest tenured pool manager we've had in the last dozen years?
Diane Thrum.
And how many years was that?
Or Diane, not Thrum, Diane Hammond, and she probably did it for 8. But following that, it's been a free-for-all.
It's been a revolving door. So, I mean, to me, yeah, that's gonna help solve our problems if we can find a way to build more consistency in that, and I don't know what that looks like.
Most of them do just use younger, okay, I don't want to say this out loud, but I'm gonna. The city hall does a lot of it, and then they just have a younger person there all the time or whatever. We don't need more things to do.
Like a site manager.
Yeah, kind of. And we do a lot of that here. I mean, we do all their deposits. We do all that because it has to come through here. We sell all the pool passes. We take all the lessons. They don't do any of those things that they have to do, but I don't know. I don't know the right answer.
I think some towns run it under their general parks and recreation too, right?
I don't know any that do that. I don't know any except for Sabetha, and they have.
Sabetha's the one I was thinking
Yeah, I was
of.
gonna say, that's the only one. I did talk to them, and they have their whole
Yeah.
gamut of things.
And they have
but
a
that-
staff member who handles all that.
Well, she's also the one that handles all the rec ball and everything. She handles everything. But she isn't there. The one when Seneca did it, he wasn't at the pool either. He just was whatever. So, yeah, I mean, they aren't on premise. They're not there.
Well, I mean, unless you do change your mind and want to start managing a swimming pool, I feel like we're gonna have to find some solutions, and if that means going back to the drawing board on how we structure some things, then that may be what we have to do.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah. Yeah,
Because this is, people are, you
I
know,
know.
freaked out,
I'm-
and rightfully
I'm-
so.
All I can say is I'm trying,
Yeah, I know, I'm not blaming you, Cindy.
but, yeah.
Would you say that Chris ran a pool before?
Yeah, I did, and I offered it to her. She did. And her mother did in front of her, so I would think that there would really be no reason why she can't write articles for being down there.
Day number 26.
Well, because I'm trying to think off the top of my head how much we pay a lifeguard starting out anymore. We raised it, what, a couple years ago?
Couple years ago.
I don't think we did anything last year.
Yeah, I don't know what it,
75, was it 9
maybe,
and a quarter?
or 9, I don't know. I'd have to look, and it
Right,
depends on
it's
how
right
many
in
years
there
you've been
somewhere.
here.
You look at what a lot of the fast food and stuff's crept up to, it starts to make us look really uncompetitive.
Well, that's,
I mean, it's a different job, I get that.
I mean, I got a senior, and I mean, most places he's been working, it's 11, 12, 13 an hour. I think Walmart's, I wouldn't say 13 for high schoolers. I think they raised it for everybody else, but I think it's around 13 for high schoolers.
Trying to think what they told me. Beatrice doesn't seem to have trouble getting them. I think Wymore was having trouble. Washington was okay. I don't know how Hanover are this year.
Abby running the pool in Hanover?
No, I don't know who managed it. She is doing our swimming lessons, but no, she's not. But her mom might be helping us.
And that's part of that's part of the problem. I mean, it's a good thing that we've got a lot of jobs for, high school kids in town, but it hurts us when we're trying to
Our
find
biggest
people.
problem is our pool, the way we designed it, it takes so many people. 10 people before would have ran it, but not anymore, because we have, the way we designed it, it takes so many people.
Aren't we lucky we did put a lazy river in?
Yeah, because then what did they say? It took, I don't know, 5 people every.
5 or 6 more people.
Yeah.
More.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so,
Yeah, that would not
Yeah,
be
yeah.
Could've gave up the rest of it, just a river going around.
Right.
Good.
so, I mean, I think that's a large part of ours. All the rest of them around it doesn't take near as many people as ours. Ours just takes a lot of people.
Does Blue Rapids have a lazy river?
No.
I don't think so.
Frankfort, I knew
Okay.
somebody.
But their lazy river is about the size of this.
Yeah.
More of a lazy stream.
Kinda, it wouldn't even be this.
It's a short ride.
They use it mostly, I think, for resistance walking.
Okay. That's all I had on that. People have been hitting me up about it, so. Anything else in Parks and Rec then? Cemetery and Airport? Where we at on the airport leases? Did everybody
have
turn
a-
in their
oh, no, not
funds?
yet.
No?
No, and I have not called anybody yet, of
Okay,
those 3.
I haven't signed anything yet, so.
No.
I stopped out there today just to check it out. The, airport restrooms stuff out
It's
there.
amazing, isn't it?
They look nice.
Yeah,
The
I
floor looks
stopped
nice
out there on Sunday.
Paint and everything, it looks 10 times better than it did before, for sure. And the concrete's, I think that's the first time I've been on the concrete out there too, and it's very nice.
Just happy we had
Parking light and all
guttering,
that.
so the water didn't run in the door anymore.
Yeah, it's nice. Anything else on cemetery and airport? Police and fire? We did have the police meeting, and we discussed the changes in the department and how it's structured. We also talked about blight and stuff around town. somewhat. I don't really know what to do about it. I mean, we've been trying to, do it with another employee or with a kind of a part-time person coming in, which worked when we had Butch, it worked well. I think it's a lot to put on one person, on Will. I think it's a lot to put on Will on top of everything else we've got him doing.
Will does not need any more tack to him. I'm sorry.
We did discuss adding a full-time position that would do nuisance, and then over the winter would be a swing position. How that looked, we don't know, but that was just a talking point that we ended the night on.
Because, the time Will does his inspections and the zone, or the planning commission, and gets all that stuff, and some of the stuff we have him try to build, and, you can't spread somebody that thin to get everything done.
No.
Right. We do have a big list, and I forgot to bring it of the nuisances we sent. We didn't have it for we didn't think to put it for your thing. We have a bunch we've sent.
And we did have a couple of people from the community that brought pictures that night of
Their neighborhoods.
places in their neighborhood that were blighted. So,
So, yeah, so I guess what are council's ideas of,
I think that's
to get this under
a
control?
discussion that the committee needs to, there's a lot of things involved in that.
Okay.
I mean, we don't want to just create a position. I still think that we.
Kick it to admin and finance.
Oh, yeah. What about Parks and Rec?
Not on it.
Admin, finance plus Kevin.
you, me, and Lori?
I think honestly, we all have a duty to take care of it ourselves. And if it's somebody in your ward,
Yep.
and I think the chief of police took my comment the wrong way about good cop, bad cop that night. Hey, I'm gonna be the good cop and say, clean this stuff up. But if it comes down to the point that, hey, we're not happy with it, then somebody needs to step up and just go tell them that it needs a change.
What if somebody's been told 3 times and nothing's still been done?
Well, I don't know what to tell you.
Not 90% of the time, they get a letter in the mail about their grass or whatever, and they just cut it. I mean, I've got those letters before, and you open them up, and you're like, and then you calm down, and then you're like, well, yeah, it does look kind of bad, and then you clean it up, and that's how most people handle it,
which
but
one I'm
not
talking
always.
about.
Oh, I can guess, yeah.
Yeah.
You got one individual in this town that was excited to go to jail because it was warm and he got warm food.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, didn't clean anything up.
But you can't base a full-time position on the small percentage.
No, but at the same time, how much does it cost in this when we don't stay on top of these things, and when we gotta send the city crew in there to clean up?
Costs a
And
lot
and
when
then
you
we
send somebody in.
Well, I know, and then we stick it on their property taxes, and we never get it back usually.
I think that still needs to stay in committee right now, in my opinion.
What committee?
I
Police,
think
fire,
police and
admin,
fire,
or what?
in my mind. I mean, it's enforcement.
Okay.
And just continue to work on a plan.
It's like
I'm not
admin
on it
and finance.
Kevin's happy.
Well, so what's the count? You wanna kick it to police and fire again? Have another meeting?
And if you have any people, bring them to us. We'll take the pictures, we send the letters. If you know something that's an issue.
Yeah, the majority
I'm gonna put my father on the list.
The majority of what we do as far as nuisances, and it's by nature, it's by complaint. If you give us a list, we can get that taken care of. It goes that much faster, but, yeah.
Okay.
Next one.
Anything else on police and fire? Okay. Admin and finance. trying to think, we had a meeting with that entity about the Murphy property, last week. Do you have anything to update on that, John, or? I think they were gonna discuss it with the, county commissioners, I don't know.
And the entities contact me, they're ready to, want me to draft agreement. They're on board.
Okay. You wanna kinda elaborate on what they?
We're working out a mechanism to somehow speed up the process. The understanding was at the meeting that if, even though the tax has been delinquent 5 years, it may be another 2 years before it goes on tax sale. And so we're trying to speed it up. There's a couple alternatives. One is the county came up with this, is appoint the city attorney as special county counselor to do a tax sale for one property. And that one property involves a series of agreements where this private entity would be willing to bid at the sheriff's sale. And that bid would be sufficient to cover most of the city's costs, if not all.
Basically, we wanted assurances from that entity that they would make us whole, or at least come close to it. And in exchange, we would move forward with having the structure torn down. We'd also like an agreement with the county that they have this special sale, once we have it tore down, to kind of move this along. Kind of trying to do whatever the building is, it needs to be gone, and it's becoming more of an issue. Exactly, so we would like to move along, it was my thought anyway, to get it tore down, but I think the city, we would like to have assurances that we are gonna be
Made whole
made
or
whole
close.
for our costs.
So basically, we're trying to facilitate a good resolution.
Yes.
Yeah,
Move forward.
And then after the fact, we sent an email to Austin about another option is just at least put another lien on the property if the assessment certified to the county clerk is placed on a tax roll. At that time, the city has an option that, they can let it go on the tax roll to collect like a regular tax, or sue civilly. And by suing civilly, it does create less pendants. It'd be a way to address any lien holders and put extra pressure on getting the property sold.
It's definitely an option, because right now when we go, so for instance, 1205 Carolina, I think we came in after the fact with the $10,000 of demolition, and the county's not going to put it on for the tax sale. So there's not that added value of our demolition added on to recoup if that comes up. So for future properties, we can put on a lien if we're ever in this situation to make sure that we can try to recoup.
Two options: sue civilly, just like a regular civil action,
Yeah.
and collect it. That creates a lien, less pendants. The other option was the Lawrence ordinance, where we discussed here about actually a foreclosure, and it applies to certain properties, residential apartment buildings type properties.
So that's kind of where we're at on that, so.
That sounds better than what we were looking at before.
Yeah.
Keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on admin and finance? Okay, we do have 2 appointments on here.
With the recent,
Due to, something we didn't want to have to be doing. I didn't expect it. Yeah.
but Megan was happy to come back as our prosecutor to take John's place so that John could take over the judge. I don't think Megan was interested in being judge. But
Is there any concern with the transition as far as cases that are ongoing? I'm sure you'll sort that all out.
Well, I've had it done. So there's, as attorney, there's always a conflict. You always have to be cognizant of a conflict, because I'm ethically bound to follow the rules, and I would step back, but I haven't handled any cases. And so, we talked about a few. peripherally, and haven't talked to officers, haven't talked to the witnesses, so I really have no involvement.
Great, good.
And then our code does provide for multiple offices that can be held by one person, and I've checked into it. I feel comfortable that there's not a incompatibility argument. And there is an AG opinion I rely on heavily with respect to a county attorney serving as a pro tem judge, serving as court trustee, and multiple other positions, and really see no difference. As city attorney, I have no budget authority, I have no supervisory authority. As city judge, I have no budget authority or supervisory authority. So I don't think there'd be a problem.
Are these appointments to complete existing terms? Okay.
Second.
That wasn't a motion, but I'll make it a motion.
I thought you
It
were
was a
making a
question,
motion.
but I'll make my question a motion. I move to approve.
Approve the mayor's appointments.
Yes.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Veto. You have anything for us, John? City Attorney?
No, I'd like to thank the council for this opportunity. I have no other. I'll be here for the next meeting, and at that time, we're having a meeting with an insurance EMC attorney. A different one is appointed, and we'll fill you in the details. Right now, it's a little bit premature for us to meet, executive session, talk about it, but we're gonna meet with by Zoom, the EMC attorney this Thursday and discuss an EOC complaint.
We probably ought to have an executive session, about possible land acquisition for 10 minutes maybe. I don't even know if it needs to be 10. Could be 5 probably.
I move the city council recess into executive session to discuss possible acquisition of real estate pursuant to the acquisition of real estate exception KSA 75-4319B6. This session will include the mayor, city council, city administrator, and city attorney. The open meeting will resume in the city council chamber at 8:39.
Okay. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm like muting it.
I have this thing that I use.
Call this meeting back to order. No binding decisions were made. Continue with the regular meeting. Oh, yes.
Don't forget to read my
I can read this, okay. Proclamation by the mayors of Marshall County, Kansas. Whereas more than 3 million U.S. service members served in the Vietnam War between 1964 and 1975 and represent a generation who exemplified the very meaning of courage, bravery, honor, and sacrifice. And whereas on March 29, 1973, the last American troops were withdrawn from the battlefields of South Vietnam, thus ending one of the longest conflicts in our nation's history. And whereas more than 4,000 members of the Kansas National Guard were mobilized for the Vietnam War, and whereas in the decades since its unveiling, the Vietnam Memorial pays eternal tribute to the more than 58,000 U.S. service members who made the ultimate sacrifice in combat or remain missing to this day, and whereas of the names listed on the Vietnam Memorial Wall, 627 are from the state of Kansas, and whereas Vietnam Veterans Day is an opportunity to honor the heroic accomplishments of service members who gave their lives and all those who served our country during the Vietnam War. Now therefore, we, the mayors of the cities of Marshall County, Kansas, do hereby proclaim March 29th, 2022 as Vietnam War Veterans Day in Marshall County, Kansas. In witness whereof, we, the mayors of the city of Axtell, Beatty, Blue Rapids, Frankfort, Marysville, Oquito, Vermillion, and Waterville, Kansas, do hereby affix our official signatures on this 29th day of, March 2022. A bit past that. Okay. Sign it.
Yep. We'll cover, so we.
All right, round table. Todd?
Yeah, just a couple things. The leases for the Kester block, those don't all line up, do they? Or are they all on the same cycle?
They're on the same cycle now.
So H&R Block, Las Cabanas, Reflections, everybody's on the same cycle?
Las Cabanas might be the only one that is not. I'd have to double check that because it was done at a special time, but all the rest of them we kept doing until we could get them in the same cycle.
Do you know, so you don't know off the top of your head probably when Las Cabanas is?
I gotta look. I can check on that for you though.
So a side question to that is, when we lease out, I guess I'm interested in seeing how we structure leases when we lease out city property to make sure that things are being used to their, we'll say, most productive uses. As far as, I'm not saying appropriateness of business, but that, if there's more than one person interested in leasing a space, that we go to the one that might be the greatest overall benefit and use to the community. Have we ever looked at incorporating that into the structures of our leases?
It's very specific about what you can't do, you can't sublease, you can't do, there's a whole lot of that was written, it was written by probably John, by a lawyer a long time ago. As far as, I remember when the restaurant was brought in, they were specifically brought in by a mayor that knew somebody because that had sat empty for so long or whatever it was sitting empty. So other than that, I don't know that there is any structure. Would you like to be on the Kester block board?
I'm going to pretend you didn't ask me that question.
Bobby passed away and she'd been on it since 1980. Yeah, 1980 something.
I make a motion that we.
That works at all.
No, and I can get you a copy of the lease if you'd like.
Okay, I'm just kind of curious. I mean, if there was a business and then they closed, but they kept paying their lease, are we like, well, they've leased it, they can do whatever they want with it?
No, I think it says you have to conduct business.
But does it define, not to get, again, in the legal definition, defining conducting business?
Don't remember anything specific. It says you gotta be open a certain number of days, certain number of hours.
Or you have to hew to your posted hours, nothing like that?
Yeah, no.
Like in any way, shape, or form? Okay. Yeah, no, if you could send me that, that'd be great.
I sure will.
The other thing is just a pitch to everyone should go visit the Art Center this month.
Yeah.
There's a good exhibit. I'm not gonna do too much self-serving there, but, it looks really good. We've done a lot of renovations. We've invested a lot of money into it. I think we're gonna have to invest a little more in the foundation and some of that around the outside. Spent a lot of time there the last couple of weeks and noticing things that I may not have noticed before. Also, I want it on the record, the next time we put carpet up on the walls, we should put 3/4-inch plywood to the studs behind the carpet and then put the carpet on it to give really good mounting surfaces so that things don't get pulled out of the walls and fall or anything. Just put it out there. So, little future planning for that would be very beneficial.
That was
We didn't do that. I think that carpet went in, what, 2 years ago?
and the art center people did it, I thought.
Okay, but we
I mean, we should watch.
yeah, since it's our building, just a foresight thing, but, yep, that's it. That's all I got.
I don't have a lot other than, May 31st, it's a day I picked. It's a day that will live in infamy, is my wife and I's anniversary. And I'm leading on to something.
Uh-oh.
And after quite a bit of time with the two of us learning how to cohabitate together, my wife's brother met somebody named Libby Price. And at that time, I had the opportunity to kind of get to know the Price family a little bit more. And all I have to say right now is, Parker, I just hope that my family celebrates my life the way your family did the other day, because that was cool.
Thank you.
I was up in the balcony, and I was scared to stand next to the edge. I just don't like that.
Sitting right there.
Yeah. But your mother was a great person, a great community leader, and sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Not much. I will not be here next meeting, so everybody can make a note of that. I won't be here.
Nope. Kyle?
No, sir.
Parker?
Nope.
Colleen?
Parker doesn't have anything to say.
Kevin will remind him.
I won't.
Oh.
I don't have
Nothing?
anything nice.
Oh. I don't have anything either.
Move to adjourn.
Second. I just get loaded.
All in favor, say aye.
Approved.
Aye.
Okay.